Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 83 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr. It is October 10th, 2023, and for this feature, I have Nikki and Jon of the Sandusky, Ohio-based band Hooked Like Helen as my guest. During this interview, Nikki and Jon talk about their recent tour, details on some of their most popular songs, and much more. So let's get started. Here is Nikki and Jon of Hooked Like Helen. Before we get started, please subscribe to the Rock Interview Series. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and we have a great special for you today. We have a band called Hooked Like Helen, and they're a new band that really caught my attention. Great music, awesome songs, really profound lyrics. We're going to teach you all about this great band. We have Nikki and Jon with us today. Guys, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Hey, no problem. I guess I want to start off the interview by talking about the recent tour that you just finished. Tell us a little bit about that tour, how it went down, what it was like playing in front of those audiences.
Well, it was awesome. It was a whirlwind. It's actually, we're kind of like in that transitional period of like having to tell our bodies and our minds that we're not still on tour because we just got home a couple days ago, and but it was an absolute blast. It was all of the other bands on the tour were just such fantastic people and so kind and nice and fun. They rocked. Their music was great. It was a joy to get to hear as much of their sets as we could throughout the tour. And the people that came out were awesome. We got to meet some really cool people and play some really fun venues.
Been to places we've never been.
Go to some cities, that were awesome that we'd never seen.
Never been to Montana, never been to Wyoming. Sioux Falls, we're all new.
Yeah.
And we're all awesome shows, awesome people out there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So what were some of the other bands that were on the bill with you?
So The Haunt, which was really cool, female fronted, kind of like a goth rock kind of vibe. And then Halocene, also a female fronted, and also a duo that's married, just like us. So Addie and Brad. And we had met them and collaborated with them before, so we knew they were going to be cool. And Addie was just an amazing vocalist. And then No Resolve, who's 5 guys that are just so down to earth and so nice. And they do kind of like a modern rock, like hard rock kind of a vibe, and they do kind of their own interpretations of a lot of like big top 40 songs along with original music. So it was just kind of a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Now, when you have that many bands, it sounds like everyone, got together, but is there like a little bit of competition also where it's like, they kicked ass, we got to like up our game a bit? Is there any of that going on?
If there was, we were the first of 4 because we're such a new band. So it would have been from the other band's perspective, because we just go out there and we just do what we do and we have a lot of fun.
We set the tone, and we set the tone pretty hype.
But I feel like the other bands are all pretty high energy anyway, so like it was not a problem. Like we're all really, really different as far as our genre and our sound.
Yeah.
But we all like really go out there and leave our hearts on the stage, if that makes sense, as far as our energy level and stuff. So
yeah, so not necessarily a competition, but we all definitely wanted to bring it,
right,
to bring what we bring, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and in that type of situation too, where you're like the first band on the bill like that, do you find it challenging to like win over the fans, and really gratifying that, when you hear those comments after performance, like, wow, you guys were fucking amazing? I mean, that must feel great, right?
It does feel really great. We didn't know, how that was going to be, because we didn't know what the fans were going to be like and if they were going to.
Well, some crowds are different. Like they're in different cities. We'll have crowds that we play to who maybe, I get off stage and I'm wondering how they thought of it, what they really thought. And then at the merch table, there's 20 people lined up to tell us how great we were. And then there's other times where the crowd is super enthusiastic and there's not necessarily as many people to tell us how great we were. So it's like, you never really know.
Oh, like you can't judge just based on the crowd's energy during the performance.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they're just a little quiet or a little shy, like while you're performing, especially because we're first and nobody's, loosened up yet, and we're kind of just trying to warm everybody up. But then they'll reach out afterwards or send us a DM or whatever and like let us know. And then we're like,
But
Okay, cool.
all the fans came out early, man. It was great. Everybody showed up for the opener.
Yes,
So
that was cool.
Yeah, we felt supported and good, and it was a lot of fun.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, it's really cool that, it seems like nowadays a lot of the bands will actually go to the merch booths, or at least the ones that don't charge for the meet and greets. And I
Mhm.
think that's such an important thing. When I grew up, listening to music, I mean, you couldn't find the bands at all. I mean, they would never hang out. They'd be in there, like, go off to the next city right away. But I think that's such an important thing to go out there and actually like meet the fans.
Oh yes, for sure. And
It's
like,
great for us.
yeah, and I mean, to just even know, like, oh my gosh, okay, so that song that I wrote that meant something to me, like it translated, and it what I was trying to say, like I was able to convey because this person is telling me what it meant to them. You know what I mean? Like that's what music's about. That's what art is for, is to try to connect, you know what I mean, through to others, like through the emotions and through the healing or whatever it is. And so like that has been a really important part of it for sure for me, has been able to meet the fans.
Yeah. What are your tour plans, your future tour plans at this moment?
So we have a couple of one-offs that we're going to be doing just this month. We have like something that we do every year now. I guess this is the third year. It's called the Learner on the Lawn in Indiana, in Elkhart. And it's kind of like a big series that they do throughout the summer. And I think are we the last one? Maybe there might be one more.
Yeah, I think so.
But we're gonna be playing like a big old 2-hour set outside in like the courtyard of this city. So that one's gonna be really fun. And then we're playing our hometown Sandusky on the 27th of October. And so that's gonna be a Halloween costume contest, whole thing. And we're probably gonna be dropping a song that day. And then we're kind of regrouping after that because we've got a whole bunch of unreleased music that we need to like strategize on. So we've got like some stuff on the horizon for 2024, but like nothing that we like can say for sure is like announceable at this moment as far as a tour.
Yeah, what's it like being in a town like Sandusky, not really a major city? And have you ever thought about moving maybe to Cleveland or a bigger city?
So it's kind of weird. Like I grew up just north of LA and we met each other in LA like over 10 years ago in a band. That's how we got together, is we joined the same band. So like we were out there doing the big city thing and the big like music scene thing. And it was great. And we have a lot of wonderful memories when we learned a lot and like, met so many amazing musicians who we still work with today. But we moved back to the Sandusky area when we found out that we were going to be having a baby. And this was about 10 years ago now because he's 10. And so because of the internet, we were able to not actually have to stop doing music. We just had to kind of shift and change what we were doing. So we were doing a whole lot of recording at home with a home studio and doing kind of like sync music, like for film and TV kind of stuff, which is why we really kind of haven't toured as this project up until this past year when it just things started to take off and like get bigger. But we're happy here, to answer your question, where we're at, because we can do all these things and have our home base still be this quiet little place, like where our son goes to school and has a good time. And like our whole little town is like so supportive of us, and they really rallied around us before our first tour in the spring.
They are very supportive. Also, Nikki, her family is out in LA, so we're able to go there a lot. So we can get a lot of stuff done when we're in LA. On the music end.
And
Then
Nashville.
our band is in Nashville, so we frequent Nashville a lot too. It's about a 7.5-hour drive. So between her family being in LA and our friends and band and manager being in Nashville, we do get to both cities quite often. For some, for people who live in Milan, Ohio.
Right. Sandusky.
Yeah. So between the internet and being able to travel, I think we're good where we are
Yeah,
for now.
we like it here. We're out in the woods. You can see like
Yeah, it's pretty peaceful.
trees. I don't know if you
Oh, very nice.
They're about to turn all the fall colors.
Yeah.
So one of the things I read in your bio was that you used to play Cedar Point, which is a very big amusement park, a destination amusement park for many people. And it kind of like helped your band kind of like, play in front of people that wouldn't necessarily see your band. So what was that experience like? And what did you learn from playing in front of like such a diverse crowd like that?
A lot.
A whole lot. I am so thankful that we had that experience. We did it 2 summers in a row, a total of 4 residencies that were a week long each. and it was out in the elements because it was
Very hot.
outside in like 90 degrees, like the humidity was crazy. To your point, not a lot of people were necessarily there to even see or enjoy music. It wasn't a rock scene, it was just the general public. And
They're just trying to eat their lunch.
Yeah.
They got subjected to Hooked Like Helen.
And we were playing multiple sets a day. We were playing 7 sets a day, 7 days in a row. So I like to call it the boot camp of tour, because if you can do that and still give it everything every time, you can do anything. Like, you know what I mean?
So
Like
setting up and breaking down anything that could go wrong on stage did. Your pack comes loose, you rip this wire out, something, streamlining something that you weren't thinking of, like playing that often every single day, really, like it was almost like a tour because of how many sets we played every single day. So like we really figured out what we need to do and what to hone in equipment wise, and like, how to set up and break down very, very quickly, which is important in this industry.
Right,
People
realizing
appreciate that when you're quick on
Yeah.
stage.
And like conditioning ourselves, like physically, like my vocals, like, okay, cool, I can sing for 7 hours and not get tired. We met a lot of really cool people, like a lot of diverse, like fan base people that like all different kinds of music, and connected with them. Some people would stay and sit through multiple sets a day.
People from all over the world,
Which I thought was,
because of Cedar Point.
Mm-hmm.
We learned how to cover our gear very quickly because lots of thunderstorms roll in off Lake Erie. So we had a couple pretty nasty ones.
Yeah, that's true. I swallowed a bug while I was singing and I had to keep going.
She learned how to swallow a bug and keep singing.
Because I have like the mayflies that come out a certain time of this
anyone
summer.
who knows Lake Erie will know about the mayflies.
I'm not sure I swallowed a whole mayfly. It might have been something small. Things like this big. But yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, there were people, like you said, it's a destination from all over the world. So we got to meet some really amazing people from, there was a group of little kids from Africa that came and started dancing to some of our music, and it was good memories for sure.
Yeah. And
it was during COVID, so it was a little weird with like the super soakers of sanitizer going on every hour, but it was still a blast.
Yeah.
We're super thankful for it.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like a great time. I wish I would have, known about your band plan, or definitely would have drove up there to see it. Next I want to talk about the songwriting process. I mean, the songs, you have a great live performance with a lot of energy, but your songs are absolutely incredible. And that really is the bottom line when it comes down to it. I mean, you could have all the lights you want, you can have all the pyro you want, but at the end of the day, it's the songs. So what is the songwriting process like for you guys? I mean, with you both being married, I mean, you're together constantly. So, I mean, that must be convenient.
It is. It's really cool, the kind of the way it works for us, I think. I do a lot of the writing, like kind of myself downstairs. I play piano, so I write generally on piano, and I'll kind of get like to a certain point with an idea, and kind of Jon will kind of be almost like a mirror for me. It's like because we're married, it's like he's very honest, and it's just like, is that cool? Is that not cool? Should I keep going with that? Should I not keep going with that? And so he's kind of like my muse and my inspiration. And then once I kind of flesh things out, then we bring in guitar or bass, and he plays, and we kind of arrange things that way. And then we'll collaborate with others as far as like production goes, and I'll program a lot of beats and stuff, and then have like someone actually play it afterwards. But yeah, it's kind of cool because I feel like not everybody can be that honest in situations. Like, I mean, they can, but sometimes there's like friction, or like not trying to hurt each other's feelings, but because we're so close.
Yeah. And before that even happens, I mean, sometimes songs just pop into her head, like in the middle of nowhere, like when you're not even trying to write a song, like that happens too.
Right. That's true. And so it just happens all different ways.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation where you like, I've done interviews with people before, and some songwriters have said that they actually like had a dream with the song in the dream. Has that ever happened to you, where you like dreamt something and said, wow, I got to write this down, and took us in like, yeah.
That has, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure that any of them have ever ended up being released, the ones that I dreamt. I think I write better when I'm awake.
They will be though. Maybe one
maybe at some point.
Yeah, she is. I just want to say a phenomenal songwriter.
Oh,
That's like
thank you.
definitely her strong suit.
Thank you.
And I knew that for a long time. I didn't know she could perform like she can perform. That was amazing to find out.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, as far as songwriting goes, Nikki is for sure like
Thank you. I've been working on
a
it.
special entity.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's also unique. I mean, that you have a team like you do, because there are a lot of like, you look at a lot of the singles now and they're written by like 5 different people, and it's like, really, it took 5 people to write that song? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a lot of that, I think sometimes it's like if you don't have a lot of money up front as an independent band, you'll kind of, okay, maybe have some songwriting credit to help me out in this other area or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that happens a lot too, and that's just how it goes. But yeah, sometimes it's surprising when you're like, wow, that's a whole long list of people for
Yeah,
one song.
I mean, I remember watching the Grammys, and there was like this one song that there are 13 songwriters on. It's like,
Woo!
that's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your most recent single, "Fraud." Tell me a little bit about that particular song, and obviously, "Fraud." I mean, what inspired you to write that?
Well, we have been doing this music thing for a long time, and there are some really amazing people who are advocates and they help you and they're genuine, and then there's some people that are maybe not so genuine that kind of try to take advantage of you or misguide you or not be who they said they were. And so we were kind of fed up with that at the time that we started writing Fraud, and just wanted to be able to express where we were feeling. And that feeling of just being taken advantage of or being lied to, I think, is like spreads obviously beyond just the music industry. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody can kind of relate to
But
like having somebody.
Yeah, and the music industry though is notorious for
Right. There's a lot of it. But yeah, so we started like first coming up with that concept like almost a year ago now. But then the first tour we did was April and May of this year when we opened for Icon for Hire. And that one was one of the songs that really resonated with the fans.
Yeah.
And so we were
It's
like,
hype live.
yeah, it was a lot of fun because it's aggressive, and it's got a cool guitar solo and whatever.
It gets a little pissed off because everyone has been mad at someone who said they were something that they weren't.
That they weren't, yeah. So we were like, okay, we should probably release that song next. So we kind of went with what the crowd was feeling at the time. So we did a lot of I co-produced that song with Skid Mills, who is awesome and a super fantastic collaborator, and he arranged a lot of the parts as well. And I did all the vocals at home, and we just kind of went back and forth over the internet. And
and anyone who's out there trying to get their music out to the masses will understand this, because it's really hard to find good people to be on your team. You really have to be careful of who you trust and who you decide to work with in this industry. And it's about that, really.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But we think it came out pretty cool.
It definitely did. It's a great track. And as far as the music industry goes, I've been, I started working retail like in the music industry like 30 some years ago, and I got out of it and saw a lot of changes. And when I started, it was like, bands would have all these labels when they first started off, have all these like labels, like sometimes have bidding wars and that, to get the band, and then sign them to like a horrible contract that was, a slave contract. Pretty much every artist I've interviewed from like the 80s or 90s signed a really bad contract to begin with. Did you have any of that early in your career where, you had like, a bunch of labels coming at you, where you had that like really bad contract thrown in front of you?
So we weirdly, like, we haven't even really approached any label.
We tried to avoid that.
Yeah, we've like really kind of stuck with the whole indie vibe. And like just that approach and the do it yourself and everything. And also like being where we are in Sandusky, it's not like we were really meeting a whole lot of people until we started coming down to Nashville and we met our management and everything. So we are one of the fortunate people that actually haven't specifically had a terrible record deal. We have signed some publishing stuff that was questionable way back in the past. We have like run into some
We've signed
things.
trash deals.
We've definitely, yeah.
No names, but let's just be honest.
Yeah, and we've definitely had our
Yep.
share of like, oops, probably shouldn't have done that. But like, fortunately, it hasn't been anything like super life altering, like a terrible record deal. We have not taken that path.
And for us being independent, we're still growing. So, I mean, the further we can get on our own, the better before we need the help of a label. And the further we get, I imagine the better deal they'll set in front of us when that time does come.
Right. Like, we're not opposed to it, but we just also know that, like, well, when you're this size and when you're, doing what you're doing, just starting out, you're probably not going to get the best deal.
Yeah.
It's
So
probably going to have a bad time. So.
Until we can't keep growing on our own, I don't want to say I want to be independent forever, but it's, it's a good thing to be independent, I think, as long as you can be.
With social media and all that stuff,
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I almost wonder if it's even worth it signing to a major label, especially in the very beginning. I mean, because like, a lot of bands can be popular just on the grassroots movements where they're like, using the social media and that and getting to the point you proved it. I mean, you're on tour, you're getting a lot of hits on Spotify, so I mean, but then again, you have great songs too. So I mean, not every band can say that. So
Thank
you
you.
do have that advantage. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The next song I want to talk about is another great song. I was first time I heard it, I got pretty emotional about it. It's the lyrics. It just really kind of hit home. And the song's called Sleepwalker. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that particular song and the inspiration behind that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. That's awesome to hear. We wrote that song. I'm 11 years sober, and this is something I say when we're on stage before we play this song. Is just I'm 11 years sober, and I know that not everybody is so lucky. We have friends and loved ones who did not make it past the struggle, and we have friends and loved ones who are just still struggling with addiction and just not on the other side of it yet. And so Sleepwalker is coming from the point of view of, reaching out to that person who is still actively struggling and just trying to let them know that they're worth it and they're loved, and that, there's somebody that is in a non-judgmental way wanting them to get better. Because that's just been my experience. I am 11 years sober. That's a long time, and there are so many people that I've seen that year after year, another year gone, another year wasted, just being in that darkness and in that bad place. And then so many people who literally have just are gone. And so there's a lot of songs about sobriety, but, I feel like I have kind of a unique perspective in just that, like, I'm not judging you, you know what I mean? Like, I know that it's a symptom of something deeper for the most part for many people. For me, it was trauma, childhood trauma that I had to work through and I'm still working through. And, obviously sobriety is a journey every single day. But that it's not, you're not a bad person if you have an addiction, you're just in pain. And so that's what the song's about. That was one of the ones that, like he was saying, sometimes it just pops in your head. Like, it popped in my head when we were on our way back from an independent music award show in Tennessee called the Josie Awards that they do every year. And I think they're having another one this October that we are nominated for Sleepwalker, which is really weird. Oh my God. We were on our way back from it, and I wasn't driving. I was sitting in the back, and I was just like looking out the window, and like the main melody came into my head with the concept, and just thinking about the people who have lost their lives that I know that shouldn't have. And then of course, as soon as we got home, then I started laying it down with chords and all of that, and pulling it together. But yeah, that's the story of Sleepwalker.
Then the next song I want to talk about is a cover that you did of the song Vampire, which is just, I'm going to go out and say on the record, I think the cover is better than the original. I mean, it's an amazing song, but you guys brought it like to the next level. The video is great. Anyone watching this, I highly recommend checking it out right after this. Great video, great rendition. Why did you pick that song to do a cover of?
We got to give a
Thank you.
shout out to Halicene on that one.
Yes, I was gonna say Halicene really deserves, I would say, 99% of the credit on all of that. We feel so stoked and lucky that we got to be part of it. They approached us with that song choice, and I hadn't even heard it yet.
Well, before tour, we were wanting to collaborate.
Yeah, we were wanting to collab for sure. And they were like, what about this? And then I went and listened to the song, and I really loved the song. I think the chord progressions are very kind of like classic songwriting, kind of just
Kinda
that
like the stuff
drama. Like
we
honestly,
haven't released yet.
yeah, like we have a lot of stuff that we play that kind of has similar chord changes and stuff in it. And I really like Olivia Rodrigo anyway, and I like the sentiment of the song, and I was like, okay, yes, absolutely, let's do it. And so they arranged a whole lot of it. I contributed some keys, he did some bass, and then I sang a couple of lines and stuff. And I did some of the main harmonies and whatever. But we went to their house in Nashville, and they're so streamlined and they're so pro at this stuff. Like they have the whole thing was done in their garage in like 30 minutes. It was crazy how we pulled that video
They're
off.
very good at what they do.
They just have it down. All the lighting was perfect, all that stuff. Brad films everything, and then he edits it, and so he pieced it together. The drummer actually wasn't even there that day. He came in a separate day, and they filmed him, and it was cool because we hadn't even met him, the drummer, yet, Quentin, but he ended up going on tour with them. So now we know him. And so we didn't know him when the video came out, and now we do. And he's the nicest, coolest guy. He can throw the drumsticks in the air, juggle them, all crazy.
I gotta say that Brad and Addie and Quentin and Jacob and Jeff and Sam,
that's their whole
crew right there. An absolute pleasure to be around in every sense. Yeah. Great people.
Shout out to Halicene.
Yes. So much fun to collab too. I know we're talking about the song, but aside from that, great group of people.
Yeah, but they definitely had that vision to just, let's take Vampire, which is a super cool song, and then just make it heavy.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
And we were
that's kind of what they do.
Right. They're very good at that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think that's, one of the reasons why I think it's better than the original. I mean, it's a great song. I mean, it's just that you guys took it up a couple notches, and that's hard to do with a song that's so great to begin with.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hopefully we can do another one with them sometime.
Yeah, we'd totally
be very open to that if they're listening.
Yeah. The next song I want to talk about is Liar, which was a song that was actually on the soundtrack. And I think that, it's I can't say it's my favorite song, but I mean, they have a bunch of songs it's hard to really pick my favorite song from you guys, but that's definitely could be my favorite song. So tell us about that particular one.
Oh, thank you. So that one I wrote autobiographically years ago now, honestly. Just about somebody in my past that I had met when I was really young. And we did kind of just a piano vocal version of it with a little bit of a string arrangement, but nothing too over the top. And we released it on a little self-release EP years ago, before we knew how to do any sort of promotion or any kind of even social media really. But then we one day saw an advertisement on Facebook for a free songwriting contest where you could upload a video from YouTube or whatever of one of your songs, and
indie.com.
Yeah, indie.com, which I think doesn't exist anymore. And the potential prize for this contest was that you would get to meet the director of this dance film called High Strung, and then maybe get your song in the sequel to High Strung. And so John took a video of me singing and playing Liar and with his iPhone, and then we put it up on YouTube, and then we submitted it to indie.com.
And completely forgot about it.
Totally forgot about it. And then maybe a month and a half later, we had an email saying, congratulations, you won. And, at first I was like, what? This sounds kind of sus or whatever. And then it turned out to be totally legit. So we flew out to LA to Studio City Sound, is the recording studio that we met Michael Damian and his wife Janine Damian, and they're the two writers and directors of this dance movie called High Strung. And we got to have a recording session where we retracked some of the vocals, and we had session players come in and do the drums. It was bass. And it was the two guys who had played drums and bass on Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, among other things. But for me, that was the big one because I love that record.
Matt Log and Lance Morrison.
Yes, Matt Log on drums, Lance Morrison on bass. These guys were insane.
Epic.
They had never even heard the song before, and they come in with their instruments and they just lay down like the most beautiful arrangements to Liar. And so it was just amazing for that to happen. And then so we had a wonderful day, and we were like, okay, cool. We'll see what happens, because they hadn't even written the second movie yet. They were just like, well, maybe it'll end up in there.
It's a dance movie, so they do all the music first.
Yes. So then they ended up staying in contact with us and saying, okay, yes, we're definitely going to put Liar in the sequel, and we're definitely writing a whole scene around it, and there's going to be a big choreographed number and all this stuff.
That wasn't part of the contest, so they upped it and said you're getting a whole scene.
Right.
The song.
Yes. And so, the next thing we knew, these movies take a long time. So it was probably a course of like 2 years probably for all of this to unfold. But they ended up having like a live orchestra do like that final chorus of Liar when the key change goes up. I mean, those are like real horns, a real harp, all of this stuff happening. And then they had us make a music video for it. So we flew to Bucharest, Romania, because that's where a lot of the film was shot, because they can just do things for a lot cheaper out there. So even though it's an American film with American actors and it's in English and everything, like a ton of it was filmed in Romania. And so, because they have just like incredibly talented people out there, but just it costs a lot less. So we went out there to this like Gothic mansion and had like a 16-hour video shoot day. And
with the greatest people. Once again, we were so lucky.
Yes.
So nice.
Shout out
such a good time
to Bogdan, who was the director, and Varel, who was a cinematographer, and Stefan, who like just took us around the city. We were there for a whole week before we did the video day.
He was like the local guy who showed us all the cool stuff in Bucharest.
Yes, like all the cool like hipster places to eat and everything, and like we went to museums and stuff, and just had like literally the time of our lives out there, and got the music video out of it. And it was just a really cool experience. We ended up writing more music for the film. They were just kind of like in smaller, more incidental things, and in the background and whatever, not like super big choreographed pieces like Liar was.
Like they found out that they could ask for something and Nikki could do it within no time at all.
I was like, sure.
And then they were like, okay, we need this and we need that. So how many songs were actually in the movie?
I think 4.
So we had 4 tracks in there.
4 on the soundtrack and like 5 altogether that we
But Liar was
had a hand in.
But Liar was like the big one with the actual scene. All the other stuff was background.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, guys, I'm sorry, but we have to wrap it up now. I want to thank you very much for your time, and you guys have to get out to Buffalo, New York, so we can
Absolutely.
yeah. So let's make that happen soon, okay? Thank you again, and again, your music's amazing, and you got yourself a fan over here. So yeah, I'm a little older, but I might be your oldest fan. Who knows? But I'm there now. I'm in for life now.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet
All
you.
right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.